You're listening to Galaxy of Film. All right, and welcome back to the brain-ups of Galaxy of Film. I'm, of course, your host, Max, joined with none other than not Danilo this week as my co-host. We've got Alex and Reem stepping into the co-host seat this week. How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's a little early for us to be talking movies, but I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Usually we record this at night, but here we are bright and early at 10 a.m. for us, but only the best at Galaxy of Film. Only the best, man. So how have you been, Alex? What's going on with you real quick?
Nothing much, just made a movie over the weekend.
We
Nothing,
did, man.
nothing too big. Got a couple more things to do for it, but it was a really good shooting day.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. We shot our next film, Distinguished. That's coming out hopefully next month. Can't wait to release that, dude. It was a lot of fun shooting it for sure. But speaking of shooting things, we actually have a director here on the podcast this week. This is pretty cool. We have German director Uwe Boll. How are you doing, man?
Good. I have it a little later. I'm on 4 p.m. now, so it's all good.
Oh,
Yeah. And we don't have a holiday in Germany today, so I don't know what the holiday is in US today. Is there a holiday even?
oh,
I think in Canada is a holiday. Somebody brought me to it's a holiday, but maybe it's in Canada. So I don't. No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
awesome, man. Awesome. And so here we are. We're going to be doing this episode talking about two of your films, actually. So this is kind of new to us for Galaxy of Film. We're going to be talking about Postal and BloodRayne this week. But also, before we go ahead and start diving into that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your career as well, and then talk about your new film that you're working on, First Shift. I know, Alex, you prepared a couple questions. You want to go ahead and start us off, man?
Absolutely. So a large majority of your work is centered around the adaptations of video games, and not like more unique video games, the stuff that we like to go out and search for, beyond your local GameStop. Like, these are the ones you go to flea markets for. And that's awesome that you are bringing a light to these types of movies. There is a livelihood in Postal and BloodRayne that we'll get into more, but what specifically about the video game medium drew you to that, like adapting that into film?
I mean, I looked out that I don't do always the same genre. So to have like various genres of games too, and making various genres of films about it. And I mean, House of the Dead was the first one, and it came to me by accident, you can say. It was a film production company. They had the rights, they had the script, they had the deal with Sega, and they approached me shortly after I did my film Heart of America, what was actually about the Littleton school massacre. And I felt, okay, I'm a big Dawn of the Dead fan from Romero, and why not doing a zombie film, even if it's like based on a video game? I mean, I played the game more in the arcades, and you just shoot zombies. So I felt, okay, let's think about a story here. And I mean, they said, no, we wrote the story. It's all approved by Sega. So the Isla del Muerto, the Death Island, basically, with the rave party, and everybody gets trapped on the island, and then it's a struggle for survival. A kind of a normal setup for things like this. And I think House of the Dead, I did it more playful as any other video game movie I did later. I used video game footage, I used the Matrix setup, a lot of special effects, like a turning table with the camera turning around and stuff like this. Because
Great.
I saw,
Preach.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
a great shot in House of the Dead.
yes, but I got, as you know, I didn't get good reviews. I got like trashed, like trashed for it. And what is strange, because I thought that is basically capturing not so bad the idea of that game. And then later in Alone in the Dark and Far Cry and this kind of films, I try to just tell a story. I did it in a way more like connected to the video game. It's just like the main characters, the surrounding, the look, the costumes. This is what I went for. But the rest, I just try to tell a story what everybody knows or understands who never played the video game.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. And you mentioned some of your reviews as well. One thing that like I knew about you, before diving into your movies was hearing about how you actually boxed some of your critics previously, which is absolutely incredible. Tell us a little bit about this, how that went down, what was going through your mind when you're in the ring, going against some of these people.
No, that was after BloodRayne. I got the same bad reviews for BloodRayne as I got for Alone in the Dark, and I was mad. So I did it like an internet saying like, okay, you want to box me, you fucking critics, whatever, like then come in the ring with me. We meet in Vancouver, and we had applications. So I picked 4 contenders and boxed them all one night. I mean, I boxed when I was young, so for me it was clear that I will be not like in life danger in the ring or something. Yeah. And but on the other hand, if you box 4 people you never saw before, you also have no clue about that. Like how tall are they, how heavy, or are they like fighters themselves, whatever. So, and then we had like 1,200 people in the stadium in the Plaza of Nations in Vancouver, and it was a great night. I mean, for me, not necessarily for them, but in the end, I think, and the next day I met everybody, and the day before we talked about everything. I think at least them. They understood a little more, that because they went to the Postal set, we were shooting Postal at the same time, and they saw that it's not an amateur show. It's not like a low budget productions I was doing, and that everybody was full on with every capacity they had. So I think they respected that we do real films. It's easy to trash a film, but it's very hard to make a film.
Absolutely.
On any budget, like my first film was $60,000. So I mean, and that is the thing. It's like with less money, it's even harder to shoot a film and to deliver let's say a watchable film. So, but I mean, when people ask me now, would you regret doing all that video game films? I said no, because there was a chance for me to work with big actors with bigger budgets, and since then the world knows me. If I would continue only with small dramas, like Out of America or stuff like this, I would be not like here anymore. I would be maybe dissolved and would now shoot TV episodes.
Absolutely. And you're right. Like shooting on a lower budget is so difficult as well. Like going forward and forward, no matter what you do in the filmmaking process. Alex and I, we definitely know that from this past weekend for sure in our piece. Absolutely. But Alex, go ahead on to the next one, bud.
I wanted to dive in. You're talking about working with bigger budgets, bigger name actors. Some of the names that I saw, especially once you look at the cast list for BloodRayne in particular, you got to work with Sir Ben Kingsley. Could you talk a little bit about working with an actor of that caliber, especially someone who is legendary old Hollywood, compared to yourself, who is admittedly like your new Hollywood? You approach things with a new standpoint. Also, there is a cat in the background.
Oh, it's actually a dog, and his name is Bear, and it's kind of a little mix from, in Germany we say Spitz, but I don't know what the English name is, but it's a Pomeranian in him and another one. But my big dog is actually laying here behind me. That is a Bull Mastiff boxer. So I have two, and they always stay with me in the office, basically. So
I'm an animal lover, so
yeah. So I mean, Ben Kingsley. I mean, we have to be realistic. He took the film because he had at that point he had free time and he wanted the money, right? So I don't think he took BloodRayne because he felt there's another Schindler's List coming or something, or Gandhi. But I had a dinner with him when he came into Bucharest, into Romania, where we were shooting, and he is extremely how you think he is, right? A very British, kind of like reserved but intellectual, open-minded, very nice guy to talk with, and he was like perfectly prepared on set. Right? You didn't have to tell him, you have to do this, you have to do that. He prepped the part. He never missed a line, or he was just perfect. The only problem we had, he didn't want to shoot with Michael Madsen because he had a fight with Michael Madsen on the film Species, what they did together. And so it was a little tricky because he had actually a sword fight with Michael Madsen, and then we had to get a stunt double doing it.
Oh.
Because he said, I will not like do a sword fight with Michael Madsen. He would just cut me in half, losing control over the sword. So I felt, okay, you know what? Let's do it with the stunt guy. And so we cut it always to Michael Madsen and another stunt guy, and then we cut it to him to another stunt guy. And it was also better because the stunt guys, of course, were better with the sword fighting. So yeah, but that was it with him. And no, it was. I mean, I worked with Jason Statham, Burt Reynolds on In the Name of the King, Ray Liotta a few times. Ron Perlman, but I think the actors overall, they just want to get treated normal. You know, you cannot, as a director, being too, let's say, shy with them or whatever. They have to feel like you're the storyteller and they are, in a way, your tools, right? So they have to do what the director tells them. So, you know, but I mean, they're coming up with proposals. I think I'm a very actor-friendly director because I let them do a lot of not improv, but what they want to show, I let them show it, you know, so they can like give me a proposal. You know what, I want to play that scene like this, and I will look at it, and if it totally makes sense, I go with what they want to do. Yeah.
Awesome. I totally feel you on that. And speaking of other actors working with, probably my favorite one that you have worked with, rest in peace, Vern Troyer, you know, obviously, you know, Mini-Me in the Austin Powers films and whatnot. He's in Postal in a hilarious role. And we'll get to Postal later on, obviously. Hilarious fucking movie, by the way. But what was that process like for casting him specifically in that film? Because I feel like he doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of the obvious choice. In a way, you know, because you needed like kind of a dwarf, you know, and I mean, he's a good actor and he's so cynical. I mean, he played it so deadpan perfectly. You know, I love the scene at the bus station where nobody picks him up, and he has that huge suitcase and rolls it down the road. And I mean, I love that guy. He had like a little mini scooter driving from the trailer to the set. You know, so because he couldn't walk so far. And funny was the scene in the suitcase where he's like, how we do this? And we said, we throw you in the suitcase. Like, and he like, oh, I don't know. I have maybe like, you know, where you don't feel good in like if you're closed up in a suitcase, but he did it. And then when we show him with the blinking dildo, with the flashlight dildo, basically in the suitcase, we cut the suitcase open in the studio where it was all dark, and then we could film him because otherwise it would be, of course, impossible. So we didn't roll him around in the suitcase. We just put him in and closed the lid, and then we picked it up in the studio.
That's a great practical effect. Alex, you're up next, man.
He's out of words. He's done.
No, I had something in my throat and I didn't want to crack my voice before talking. You mentioned working with Jason Statham. In the Name of the King is one of your biggest films, I think we can agree.
It's the biggest. Budget-wise, the biggest. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure. Numbers aren't always accurate. So what was it like getting to take on something of that scope? I mean, Max and I, like, we do what, like $50 projects?
Basically.
So like $50 and alone projects. But what does it feel like to take on something of that size?
I mean, I think it was important that with Alone in the Dark, House of the Dead, and BloodRayne, I did 3, like, for me, big films before. You know, before my whole life, I started with $60,000 with German Fright Movie, and then I went up to like $2 million, $3 million films, and like Blackwood, Sanctimony, House of the Dead, not House of the Heart of America. And then with House of the Dead was 8 million, and then Alone in the Dark and BloodRayne, like between 20 and 30 million films, was the prep to do a 60 million film. So because then you see in the bigger films, you have longer shooting days, you have just more setup, you have more cars, more people, and this kind of it's more logistics, you know, where you park the trailers and where the equipment comes from. You have more technical crew, and in the Name of the King, it was basically another jump. You know, we had a lot of horses on set, for example. And I remember when the horses came, whatever, 100 horses, then I recognized with 100 horses, you also have 3 trucks just with water, like big trucks, just with, because they have to drink so much per day, you know, like, and then you need, of course, then, you know, have the horse transporter trucks, then you have the equipment trucks and the grip and electric and costumes and everything. And then you recognized we have 50 huge trucks on set, you know, and that is, of course, for the producer, Dan Clark, who did the line producing and so on most of my films together with Sean Williamson, for them, it was a jump too, you know, and then you have to adjust. You cannot say, you know, we parked the trucks here on this little parking spot somewhere. No, it's like we need the parking spot completely blocked in front of a Walmart, you know, like for a day, and parks there as an example. You know, it's like it's very tough then, I think, behind the scenes, what decisions you have to do. And we had, for example, in the Name of the King, where this little town was, where his son gets killed in the beginning. That was on Souk Island, on a native reserve on Victoria Island in Canada. And there was only one gravel pit road in to this. So you had to drive like 6-7 miles on the gravel pit, but it was only one way, right? So it means all the trucks had to go, and then all the trucks had to leave. And there could be not like in between something where a truck comes and another truck leaves, because then you would have to drive 3 miles backwards with a huge truck, and that would be an absolute disaster. And so, of course, then you have to plan that the trucks need to come way earlier as any actor, you know, like 3 hours early before you want to shoot something. And then you go in overtime and stuff like this. I mean, it's not now all details about filmmaking, but it is a totally different kind of planning. But for me as a director, it was a blast, because I focused on working with the actors, you know, and when you have the horses and the background and the, you know, the extras, and you have like 25 stunt people and stuff like this, so you can do so much. You know, you can say, look, you 2 guys will fight in the front, but in the back, we have that one guy burning, the other guy falls from the cliff, whatever, you know, and they do all of this. So you have a lot more possibilities how to set up a scene in comparison to you have no money and you have to like think about, okay, who gets shot? you know, whatever. But that is the reality of a lot of films I started with too, right? Where you really have to think to, can we have a blood script? Like, you know, can we have a script? Can we have a blank? Can we have this kind of how many costumes we can blow up or stuff like this? This is all questions. As long you are in that $1-2 million level, that are important questions.
Absolutely.
To stay, you know, like how many action scenes you have and what are you doing in the action scenes. So yeah, but for me, the Postal and King were the 2 films I had the most fun on set.
Oh, that's good to hear, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, for different reasons, right? Because on King, because you had great actors, a huge sized movie, it was like great to do the film, and long shooting time, like almost 3 months. And Postal was because it was just like every day one highlight after the other, and we were laughing our asses off the whole time, you know. Then you could really recognize, you shoot something and you know, oh my God, that's the best thing I ever did. So,
we had that feeling the other day, actually, so I understand that completely. Oh, go on, Alex.
My final question for you, what, or who I should say, is kind of key for you to create those fun environments on set, like in The Name of the King or Postal, besides, like, you mentioned your producers, Sean Williamson and Dylan Clark, but is there anyone else who really helps you kind of cultivate that environment?
Totally the hair and makeup trailer. Because because there's, you know, like the actors going there getting ready for the film, And if they have like a good atmosphere and they have nice people there, they hang out together, they're sitting in a makeup chair and chatting and getting in the mood, right? So, and I think that was, I mean, on King and also on Postal, it was just the perfect crew. There was no crew what was bad or pissing people off or something. It was overall an extreme positive environment. And both films were shot in British Columbia. And I mean, it was a very, very good experience. Mostly I had in British Columbia good experiences. You know, we had a tough time on BloodRayne 2, where we had a huge accident with a fire what burned almost the whole Build West city down. And in the Name of the King, Part 2 with Dolph Lundgren, we had a very bad explosion what hurt and burned people. So there were like 2 accidents. But when you go to Eastern Europe, what I did in BloodRayne 1, then all bets are off. You know, it's like you lose 10 kilos because it's like there is no food. I mean, it was really like sometimes really, really fucked up in Romania, where you feel like, I don't know if we should continue this year, you know, because we're sinking in the mud and never getting back out. I mean, there were really things that were, I mean, we talk about BloodRayne in a bit, right? So, and I can tell you a little more about the horrible shooting time we had on BloodRayne. But of course, in the very end, that are the memories you can laugh about the most.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's right.
all the accidents and things that don't work are, of course, in the end, the stuff you talk about.
Absolutely. And that leads me to my next bit too. So you're working on this new film, First Shift, about a New York cop. So has this wrapped filming already for you?
Yeah. So we are in post-production, we're editing it. We are like, you can say 60% is edited. And maybe 2-3 more weeks, and then we can go into like the color correction, CGI, music composing, stuff like this. I have a very good editor doing it, Easton Manikis. He did Sin City, From Dusk to Dawn, Hands of Stone, and whatever, like a Mashidi. So he's sitting in LA and is editing it right now.
Awesome. So what can you tell us about this film? You know, obviously it's not out yet, so I don't want you to give too much away for it. We'll talk about this whenever it comes out, of course. But right now, while it's in this post-production stage, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's kind of a road movie because it's the first shift of 2 police officers who worked the first time together. Kristen Renton, she was in Sons of Anarchy, for example, and Gino Pizzi, he was in Shades of Blue with Jennifer Lopez. So, and he doesn't want her as a partner. So we have the classical cop situation where 2 people have to ride together, but they don't want to. She really wants it, but and then they coming into like episodes, right? Like this kind of like we have a coffee first, and then things after things after things happening with the mob, with a guy who stabs himself and others, with family drama, with a guy who's getting a heart attack in a supermarket. So everything where cops have to come and work and help. And I think it's sometimes funny, sometimes sad, sometimes very violent, and it gives this impression. And I wrote it over Christmas because I had a bigger project I couldn't get going, and felt I love New York, like the look of New York. You know, I mean, cop films, where else you really want to do it? And I felt, okay, we shot there on South and Wall Street, Alone in the Dark Part 2, parts of there were shot in New York. And so I felt, okay, let's do this more like a road movie, and in a way that, because we're moving a lot, right? So you drive from A to B to C. And I got very good cast, I think, with a lot of like side actors doing a great job. Gary Pastore, he was in 10 Scorsese films. He plays always mafia guys. I mean, Daniel Soli, he was the bad guy in The Deuce with James Franco, that 3-season show. So I think we have a great film now. And it's not a typical Uwe Boll film. It's not like Rampage or something. It's just more a mix, a mix between drama and thriller, and not a clear genre film.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
really interesting, honestly. I can't wait for that. So when is like the expected like window that you're aiming to have this out by?
Yeah, I mean, what we have to do is we will finish maybe July, August.
Mhm.
Then we will hopefully present it in Toronto at the film festival, or we do some screenings at the American Film Market in November.
Okay.
And then we will get the best possible offers in and
Mhm.
sell it. I mean, we shot CinemaScope, so I hope we get it on a few screens, and not only as a streaming film in a way. And then we go from there. But in today's time, you never know, right? So I mean, it's very tough to predict what will happen to a film. If a streamer steps up and pays a lot of money, of course you take the money. You feel okay. If you want to have it as a premiere, then why not? Yeah.
I absolutely understand that. Gosh, that's exciting though. I'm really interested and pumped to see this come out this year. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's this kind of films I'm missing. It's like this guy. I was not like writing it down because I always wanted to do a cop drama. No, it was more like what is out there and what I would love to watch.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of like this kind of police thrillers, or like think about Training Day, think about Heat, this kind of films are rare. They're not really getting done. And there is a lot of stuff getting done with superstars, but I'm not so interested in it. I'm not the big Avengers fan anymore or stuff like this. There's more and more of these films. I lost interest in them.
I totally get that. Fuck the MCU.
Yeah, it's enough, right? So I mean, if it's the same with, I mean, you had maybe in earlier years, I mean, you were both very young, but when I was younger, you had maybe 1 or 2 real big animation films a year, and you had maybe 1 or 2 big tentpole movies a year, and then it went to like 5 and 5, and then it went to 10 and 10, and now it's like every week comes another $250 million film.
Yeah.
And spreading them out, and it's this kind of like, sorry, but I don't want to watch the Fast and the Furious anymore. It's enough. They should be all dead 6 episodes ago. I mean, they're still humans, but they're acting like they're a Hulk or something, but it's like total bullshit. So
I agree. Alex, did you see Fast and the Furious this week?
I'm going later today, probably.
Jesus Christ, dude.
And I'm still seeing my ticket. Hey. I will watch it all. I will watch Postal and BloodRayne, and then I will go see Fast X, and then On the Waterfront. That's how you watch movies, man. You gotta watch it all.
Hell of a marathon right there.
That's just an example. I'm not doing that today.
Gosh. Yeah. But you're absolutely right, though, what you said earlier talking about some of these movies. You should make the movies that you want to see. That's how the passion stays alive, by all means. I love hearing that. Absolutely. But let's go ahead and take a quick break for our listeners. We're going to go ahead and dive into our stream of the week, have our rating system coming up too, guys. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and talk about your films Postal and BloodRayne. So we'll be right back, guys.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What's up, y'all? This is Dakari Holder coming at you live right about now from Galaxy from headquarters podcasting and vlogging territory. And today for Stream of the Week, I'm going to talk to you guys about a film that I haven't seen since 2016. It's another Shaw Brothers film, but it's a later period Shaw Brothers film from the 1980s. It is called Shaolin Intruders. I rewatched it just to find something kinetic and full of energy to watch. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't seen the film since 2016, but I do remember vividly how the film was made and how it made me feel. And this movie impressed me even more on second viewing. It's even better on second viewing, honestly. I think it's one of the greatest productions Shaw Brothers ever filmed, in my opinion. It's a late period Shaw Brothers film. and this was when they reached the decline of their filmmaking era, but you can't even tell because this movie is so fantastical, full of energy. There's nothing like it. Absolutely recommend it.
All right, guys, and we're back from our break. Alex, we're gonna go ahead and talk Postal first this week. No pressure. I know you're not Danilo, you're not Little Pablo, man, but go ahead, give us your recap of Postal.
All right, so Postal is a adaptation of the video game of the same name, except this one more focuses on Postal 2 than the first one. That's just what I noticed. Starts off a fictional version of 9/11 is happening, and basically it's a hijack scene, but it's pretty comedic. And it eventually minds change, the terrorists, it gets really weird, I'm gonna be honest. And with all respect to Mr. Boll, this was one of the strangest opening scenes I've ever witnessed. And to that I say, that's fantastic. That's how a movie opening should be. I feel like every prologue needs to do something that you're just not expecting.
I was about to say, I knew about the opening scene before I had watched all of Postal. I had seen just that bit broken up on YouTube and whatnot in like middle school. So for a long time, all I knew was that hijack scene. It's great.
So yeah, I saw this back during the pandemic.
Okay.
So like 2020. I had never heard about it. I just knew of the director and was watching a lot of movies.
I got you. We'll continue on.
All right. So later, jumps up 5 years. There's this guy named Postal Dude being mocked, kicked out of an unemployment office, and then discovers his wife is cheating on him in a pretty visually hilarious gag. Is the best way I can describe it. Eventually teams up with his Uncle Dave, because everyone needs an Uncle Dave. And Uncle Dave owes the government a lot of money, a little over $1 million in taxes. But eventually they devise a plan to hijack crotchy dolls. And it's a plush toy that, well, you guessed it, symbols a scrotum.
Yeah.
And apparently they could go for $4,000.
Absolutely, man. Why wouldn't they?
No, I mean,
It's a collector's item. It's a collector's item because
Exactly.
everything else was sinking on a big ship from China. So now these are the only crotchy dolls left on the planet. So they have a huge collector's value.
You know, some people do uranium or plutonium crotchy dolls.
Yeah.
The real
Absolutely.
shortage of them. So eventually the terrorist storyline from the beginning meets up with the crotchy doll storyline, and afterwards I kind of got a little lost, I won't lie to you.
So they have the bird flu in the ass from the crotchy doll. Is the bird flu virus where the Taliban and Al-Qaeda terrorists want to kill all of America with. So, but Uncle Dave sees only the collector items value. And so there is a fight basically between the Al-Qaeda and Uncle Dave's cult. You have to say he's a cult leader too. So, you know, he's like has his sex slaves everywhere. And they're colliding in Little Germany, where I play myself, basically, because I, as the Nazi guy from Germany, protected all the crotchy dolls for myself and stole them. And so, and then everything goes completely sideways with a lot of violence, but I think always in a funny way.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and yeah.
The end though, I want to talk about the ending.
Yeah.
First, before we get into even more. Bush and Bin Laden just strolling through a field together, hand in hand. I think you might be the only filmmaker who's ever done that. And
but look,
gorgeous.
but it's not so far-fetched because you know that the Bush family had contacts to the Bin Laden family actually in real, because the only Osama bin Laden was a terrorist. The rest of the Bin Laden family were like in the oil business, whatever, in Saudi Arab, and they had ties to the family Bush. And so Osama was the black sheep of the family. But of course, in the comedy, you make them the best buddies.
Yeah, that shit's
Oh, yeah.
hilarious.
And
Yeah.
then, of course, the Casablanca reference at the end, it's a perfect ending
It
to a
is,
film
man.
that starts out with 9/11 gag. It works.
Look, I got in a bed. Postal was done like 5 years after 9/11, and a lot of people criticized me in the beginning for the opening, and I said, you know, you don't get it. It makes jokes not about victims from 9/11. It makes jokes about the completely insanity to do suicide to serve a god. That is the thing, or Allah, right? So I mean, the insanity that you think you gain something, and Allah loves you more if you killed somebody, is crazy. And that is the scene about it, you know, that they are like negotiating how many virgins they're getting in paradise, you know, and then they feel like, oh, and then Osama bin Laden says like, yeah, we don't have so many left, so it's 26. We're down to 26 virgins per person. And they want to fly it, and they actually don't want to do it, right? So they say, okay, I saw 99 virgins, and now it's 26. So what happens when we arrive? You know, like let's say you die, and then you actually arrive, and then the guy on the door tells you, it's down to 4 virgins now. And you say, fuck it, I don't want to do it. And so they say we fly in the Bahamas and actually don't want to crash the plane, but the people crashing into the cockpit to turn the flight around, and then by accident it's crashing in the World Trade Center.
Yeah, that shit's hilarious, man. I gotta be honest. Like, I know a lot of people might find Postal to be offensive and out there, especially by today's standards, but comedy is all about just making fun of yourself in a sense.
Yeah.
And that's when you really have fun with it. This thing, you point fingers at everybody, including yourself, which I love about this. You know, no one's excluded from this film, essentially. But yeah, that shit's hilarious. The opening scene. I can't tell you how many times I saw that in school. Because when I was in like middle school was when the 10th anniversary of 9/11 was happening. And I remember we were really studying hard about that in class, whatnot. And a lot of kids would end up pulling up on their phones. This is when smartphones were like coming into school, making creeps around. And kids were pulling up this opening scene, and I would see it non-stop through like 6th to 8th grade, just repeated over and over again.
I know it has millions and millions of views, right? So
Yeah.
put it on YouTube. There are, I don't know, but there are various versions of it. And I think there are easy 10, 15 million views on the opening. And yeah, no, I agree. I think Postal is also the film who survived the longest time from all my films. Like when I go to a fan convention or people asking like whatever, sign a DVD, they're mostly coming with Postal. And the second place is Rampage 1.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like it has the most like followers in a way, of fans. Of course, the others are also like there, and of course, House of the Dead sold way more DVDs as Postal, but I'm not sure. Maybe Postal is still the most watched film, but not in my financial benefit. Let's say it this way. I think a lot of people just watched it online for free, or like stuff like this.
Yeah,
Hey, I rented Assault on Wall Street 5 times. All right.
Good, perfect. So you can watch Postal for free.
That's great. No, I fucking love this thing. I was cracking up the whole goddamn time watching Postal. And
every joke hits. It's amazing.
It does.
Like
it does.
There's a continual laughter like throughout, like from the comedy to the action that is so shocking that you can't help but laugh at it, which that had to have been intentional.
Oh, I
Yeah, of
imagine.
course. Look, when they have the shootout at the trailer park and only the door is standing in the end of the whole car. And they're still hiding behind the door, never got shot. What is totally absurd, you know? Or when the guy with the pump gun gets shot and flies backwards into the hut, whatever the bungalow he has. And I totally agree. It's a crazy thing. You know, when the girl from the welfare office gets hit by the truck and then she gets hit by 3 trucks, boom, 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 like table tennis. I had a blast doing it. And I think Postal shows also what is lost now in comedy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at the comedies now. They're all like so politically correct. Like we cannot do this, we cannot do that. So comedy, I think, is a genre what suffers the most right now. You know, because everybody is so scared to insult somebody, you know, and you have to be so clean with all minorities. And and Postal was really done with that spirit of who gives a shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it
we
really
do
is.
know what is funny, and we don't care if somebody flips out about it. Too bad for you, you know. And as you said, everybody gets it. You know, it's not like a comedy where only black people getting made fun of or something. Everybody gets it, and I think that is very important. And I'm very mad with the film industry right now that even Seth Rogen or people like this distancing themselves from their old films, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, Super Bad, Something's Mad About Mary, whatever, Hangover. They were all good films. They were really funny. You know, and now if they would do another Hangover film, they would say, you know, you cannot do this and this and this and this, and then it's not funny at all. Then you think, like, what the fuck is this? So no, for real, you know, it's really like, but I think it's important, like, you as the younger generation too, you feel the same like I, like, we don't want like censorship, period. You know, you should be always free to say or to show or to make a whatever. If you write a book, if you make a film, you should be free to do whatever you want. You know, as long as you don't actually hurt people in front of the camera, like that they, you know, like to hurt animals or people, that is, of course, absolutely a no-go. But as long as it's taste can be this and taste can be that, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's so, and my wife don't think I'm funny. You know, she said, you're not funny. You said you're just like an insulting everybody. And I said, no, I'm funny, but you don't have the right humor. But okay, but that is the different thing, right? So it's like, of course, I know with Postal, whatever, it's an extreme film, but as we three at least, we know that is the whole point, that it's funny.
Yeah, and it goes right back to saying, like, you're making the movies you want to make too, so it has that personal sense of, like, the comedy matters, you know. These are actual jokes too. Absolutely. Gosh. I think one of my favorite bits throughout this film is the is Postal dude's wife cheating on him and the trailer bouncing back and forth. I used to work with a guy who had a similar situation. And it's awful, but like, that's, you find truth in some comedy as well, and that's one of the reasons why I find it to be so goddamn funny. It's because I would work with the dude who every fucking day would come to work talking about how his trailer park wife was cheating on him, and that shit is hilarious hearing it, man. And so seeing an exaggerated version blown up on camera that looks good too, and the joke lands, is impeccable. It's awesome.
And you have to break the situations then, right? So you have to, like, the funny thing is, of course, when he actually comes, that the neighbor who fucks his wife doesn't care. You know, like this kind of, you think you burst in, and then at least that guy would try to get out of the trailer and whatever, jump out of the window, or is full of excuses. But then, of course, you top it in having him completely ignoring him.
Yeah.
You know, like, so, and I think that makes it funny, you know, this kind of, or when the 2 cops stop the Chinese woman in the car, and Chris Spencer goes out and shoots her. And, you know, I mean, I think that is hilarious because it's already funny. but that he just blows her away because she called him the N word, but she's from China, and like the. And she didn't actually. He couldn't understand what she was saying. So, but I think that is funny, So, and I think that is showing, like, don't like pull back. And I think that is what the movie industry is doing now since 5-6 years. It got so bad, and of course, the streamers are more regulated as the old DVD distributors. When DVD was everything and Blockbuster was still existing, everything came out and the audience could decide. And you had way more smaller distributors also for DVDs who could land a hit.
Yeah.
Now you have this mega companies who are mostly even bigger as the major studios, and they have a corporate governance, right? So they have this kind of like people controlling what they airing and what they want to put up. And so everything gets dimmed down. Yeah. And that is bad. I mean, they do horror films from time to time, but they don't do like Man Eater, Mother's Day, or Friday the 13th Part 1 or stuff like this, what was really bloody and gory. They don't do this, right? They don't go this far as the old DVD world was doing it. And that overall, I think, reduces the quality and the choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you on that as well, man. I imagine like you were saying earlier, talking about conventions, everyone comes with postal DVDs and whatnot, of course. So I mean, like, that market right there, that audience is incredibly important too. And seeing it kind of wither away over time because of streaming stuff is obviously just sad, honestly. True. And it really is. It is. Gosh, yeah, man. Postal is a trip. I love this movie. This is like a genre-defining like parody film or comedy film. This is hilarious. It is definitely one of the best ones I've seen.
A good note: there is a guy, Louis Justin, in US doing a 4K new like high-end version of Postal, and he will re-release it on Blu-ray.
Whoa!
Yeah, they have the movie for a longer time now. I will get soon like the release date, but I hope in fall we have a brand new with a new director's commentary, Blu-ray coming out.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Hell
I'm
yeah,
very
man.
happy about this. When the guy approached me, I said right away, absolutely, let's do it. Yeah,
that's fucking awesome. I'm glad you can continue to live on to the physical media, like having that extra push coming through.
Dude,
That's
this
great.
man, the beauty of your films, like Walmarts across America, like keep your movies, especially like in the late 2000s and early 2010s, that your movies were everywhere in Walmarts. And I have so many memories of like going there and just seeing what the latest film from Uwe Boll was.
No, I know. That was my main income, right? So I got a lot of like Best Buy and Walmart, Blockbuster orders, and also Redbox in the beginning, where it was still standing as the machine in the supermarkets and stuff.
Yeah.
And when that dissolved and streamers came, I felt like, oh God, it's over. Like what a disaster. And then it came back a little. It's still out there, DVDs and Blu-rays, but of course, also with the competition of the streamers, you can now make also money from the streamers. That was also like impossible, like 6-7 years ago. It appeared not to be a real big market, that you can make good license fees with Netflix, whatever. But now it's good.
Nice, very nice. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit of BloodRayne too, since we talked about Postal for quite a bit now. Alex, again, putting you on the spot, man. No, you're not Pablo, but you got this, dog. You got this. Let me hear your little recap on BloodRayne.
All right, we're gonna keep this short and sweet because I think we're a little short on time. Rayne is a breed of human and vampire, and crucifixes, holy water, that stuff does not affect her. Her father is Kagan, Ben Kingsley, and he is the king of all of the vampires. On the other side, there's a secret society with Sebastian, Vladimir, and Katerin. That's Michael Madsen, Matthew Davis, and Michelle Rodriguez. in the Brimstone Society, and they're humans who are fighting vampires. Eventually, Rayne's lineage is discovered, and Brimstone Society comes hunting for her. Eventually ending up in Romania, kind of home of vampires. I just real quick, did y'all shoot on location in Romania?
Yeah. In
Okay.
original Transylvania, basically, because there's where the Dracula.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
It just feels it feels like Dracula at its heart. But continuing, she's searching for this magical artifact, the MacGuffin of the film. Eventually, Brimstone Society comes back. There's a final fight, and in the end, Kagan dies by Rayne's hand, and just kind of rides off into the sunset. It ends kind of like Indiana Jones film, which works for a film that is heavily based in action adventure with mythological elements.
Absolutely, it does, man. So this is a video game franchise I'm not too familiar with, BloodRayne, whatsoever. Haven't played these games, only heard a little bit about them, and I've only seen your movie adaptation of it. So I'm really curious to hear, like, what about this series called to you to want to go ahead and make this into a film?
It was just the figure, like BloodRayne. I love that. Okay. You know that the name from her is the name of the game. She looked like when you remember the old posters also from Underworld, for example, or Resident Evil, but also woman in the center, right? And I felt her with the two blades. I felt, okay, that is the franchise, basically. It's the person. Because the game was never a real big success, I have to say, like Majesco, it's not like Far Cry or something. It was never a game what everybody knew.
Yeah.
And but I felt like that is cool, and I like this kind of vampire adventurous films. I made it very bloody because of the title too, so it's a lot of gore in it. And I felt also I shouldn't try to make a PG-13 film. I should do a harsh R-rated film so that fans are like, what are vampires, right? It's blood sucking and kind of sex to it. I felt like let's fulfill this dreams from everybody. And Christina Loken, she came fresh from Terminator 2, right? So I felt that it's a good match, and I think she did a very good job. So shooting in Romania was very hard because we really had to go to the countryside, and Transylvania is really in the mountains, and that castle there, what we have in the film, that is not a CGI castle, that actually exists, stuff like this. But it was far away from the main city, Bucharest. So then you have, like, as far you get out, as, let's say, shittier the life gets, you know, with hotels, restaurants, food, whatever. So everything was very not so nice. And but it was a free slim fast diet, because everybody I know, my DP, all the actors, we all lost weight. And you know, if it doesn't taste good, you don't eat so much. So yeah, but it was an adventure, and as I said, a lot of things happened where you feel like, oh, it's almost absurd. Like, for example, my DP, he found his suitcase on a sidewalk. So a driver just dumped it on the sidewalk somewhere, and instead of the hotel where we were supposed to go. And then he rolled it to the hotel 3 blocks down the road, and stuff like this, you know, where you have no explanation for, where you say, like, how the hell somebody can dump a suitcase not in the hotel and just on the sidewalk? I mean, I never got the answer, because they totally refused to take responsibility for it. But shit like this happened all the time. You know, I came in a hotel, I had one street dog from Romania I took home, and I had my other dog. They're both dead now. So these are 2 new dogs I have behind me, because they both were 15 years in the end. But I was with the 2 dogs there. So, and I came to in the hotel after a night shoot, and the dogs were full of mud. I was full of mud. It was raining, it was muddy, whatever. And then there was absolutely no towel in my room. And absolutely nobody's there anymore, like at the reception, whatever. It was like The Shining, right? So I walked around, how the fuck is that possible? Where are the towels? Where is the night guy in the hotel? There was no night guy. So I did the bed sheets. I took the bed sheets off and used them as towels because I had to shower the dogs down and myself, And then we were just like, I put like a training suit on and slept in the bed without the bed sheets because I was not sure if there are bed bugs. I just didn't want to go, in the bed with like only a little pajama. So I put my stuff, socks on, t-shirt, sweatshirt. And then the next day I came back, like the next lunchtime around, I waked up because we had night shoot. So I went back to the shoot. And when I came back at 5 a.m., nothing was done in my room. Nothing was cleaned. All towels there. And again, nobody was at the reception. So that was Romania at that time. Where you really like, when I have to nail it down to this, that was Romania. And that you never forget. And when you tell it now, it's funny. But when you're in that situation, you get so mad. You're so fucked up from the shoot. You're tired, you're hungry. And then again, they didn't even make the bed and there are no towels again. That was insanity pure. And of course, when I left at lunchtime the day before, I said to them, make my fucking room, right? I told it to them and they did.
Yeah, I'd be fucking pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's hilarious looking back on it. And that suitcase, that might have been Vern from like the past, man.
Well, Troy was still in it.
Yeah.
Years later. Yeah. Vern, you're dead, but it doesn't matter. So
that's too fucking funny. There's a lot of cool action sequences in BloodRayne. My personal favorite is when Rayne is down in like this dungeon area going against this large like ogre-like creature. And it's a gorgeous fucking fight sequence. I'm really curious, what are some of your favorite action moments or memories from BloodRayne?
That was definitely one. We had like Esteban. He there was the stunt guy. He doubles the Aquaman guy.
Jason Momoa?
Yeah, he's double, So, and he's a massive guy. And so I think it was a great scene because we had also this other room where she get the artifact, right? What we flooded with water and the blades crossing.
Yeah.
So, stuff like this. But I mean, the real action I liked most was that battle in that monastery. That was actually the muddy big battle where people get cut in half and everything. That was that night shoots where I went back to the hotel after. And so now it all comes together. And that was really I laughed at because it was really bloody, gory, and kind of crazy. And I had Olaf Ittenbach there. He's a German splatter specialist. And I told him, like, I want this sword in the eye coming out here. And he, of course, prepped all the prosthetics and stuff. I like to do things practical, if possible, and not do CGI.
Absolutely.
Doing more like practical blood things with blood pump, spraying blood and stuff like this.
Absolutely. It looks gorgeous, too, honestly. Like, this is... BloodRayne is one of those weird, like, comfort 2000s films for me. I feel like I would have watched this at my own mom's house growing up, seeing bits of it on TV. This is, it reminds me of being a kid, honestly, watching these kind of movies, for sure.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts on BloodRayne, too, real quick.
Touching on the practical effects you were talking about, you can see those in every frame. And I love that. I like that you went towards practical instead of just.
Oh, your sound is off.
Yeah, what the hell happened?
Yeah. Maybe you're abducted by aliens right now, and we have a live new video game film.
Jesus. Fix your fucking microphone, Alex. What are you doing?
Just do it without the headphones.
Yeah, we're waiting, buddy. We're waiting.
You can still talk or not.
You good?
I know. He's like, hello. But the picture was also not so good anymore. Maybe it's frozen now.
Oh, there he
okay.
is. There he goes.
Yeah.
He texted me saying things are overheating. What the hell?
But he has Robert De Niro now replacing him, so it's all good.
Oh Jesus.
Okay.
Oh, for our listeners, we're gonna take a
So we have to finish without him then. If he's like gone, then I don't know.
Yeah,
then,
I guess so. I guess.
Yeah.
Jesus
But
Christ.
it BloodRayne comes also in 4K.
Oh, you're doing another release of that too.
Yes, it will come also. It's part of a package where we did like kind of a package deal with various films coming out in 4K. I'm looking really forward to it. And first in Germany, actually, but then in US also. So, yeah. And I mean, it's this kind of, as you said, it's this kind of genre film, what I like also to watch again. You know, this kind of films are rare. And I always say, like, film history shows like genre films survive way longer as dramas or political films because it's this kind of, they don't age so much.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. You know, it's like, I don't know if I ever want to watch Moonlight again or or La La Land or Nomadland or all that films are winning Oscars in today's time or whatever, right? So I'm, you know, but I can watch Jaws every Tuesday and I still have a blast. So, you know, that is the thing where I feel like genre overall, I mean, it's good that we have everything, but I personally like genre films a little more.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And going back to where you're talking about how this is also getting a 4K release, are you doing any of your other films that way too, besides Postal and BloodRayne?
Yeah, I think we made a package, but I don't know anymore what else was in, and they had to track down the 35mm material, right? So you need to make a new version, and some movies it was tough to get the 35 material because Technicolor and everybody went under or are gone, and then you're like, where is my shit? And they don't find, you know, like a lot of like this kind of stuff I think got like thrown away or destroyed without even asking me. And I think that this makes me very unhappy, to be honest, you know, but we tracked various things down, and the 4 or 5 films coming on 4K new.
That's awesome to hear you got a couple of them coming back. But yeah, it's frustrating as hell. You know, film deserves to be preserved by all means and stored properly for instances like this. When I was in college, I wrote a paper on that actually, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I still like DVDs and stuff, you know, and because when you have stuff on your hard drive, I had a few times my hard drive being destroyed and then like 150 films gone, stuff like this, you know, and if you have a DVD or Blu-ray, you have something. It's not getting deleted. And when you think, oh, they're always online now, available, but it's also not. You know, Disney just said like they will omit like 50% of what they have on Disney Plus, so they will just take it off and then they're gone forever. And you know, like stuff like this, and then you don't have it, so you have it only if you still have a Blu-ray or DVD. And I think they may be coming back, like records for music, you know, like stuff like this. I think at one point people say, no, I still want my DVD collection, and so please still release it. And maybe there is more money possibilities coming back with DVDs.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm physical media all the way, honestly, all the way. Let's see, we got Robert De Niro back here. How are you doing, man? Welcome back to the show. Can you hear us, Alex?
I think he got grilled, or he got his headphone got like toasted his head, like Mars Attack or something, and he's now under the influence of some. We don't hear you.
Yeah, we can't even hear you, man.
Why you don't put it on your computer? Like use the microphone on your computer without the headphone.
Come on now, Alex. You had one job, buddy.
But I mean, I think we talked about everything, right? So
pretty much. Let's go ahead and try to wrap this up. Oh my goodness.
We do one more when you watch First Shift. And you know, when in fall Postal comes in 4K, then maybe a short before Christmas we can do another one.
Absolutely. I was about to say, we'd love to get you back on here. This has been a great time having you here. I love talking about your films, especially. Add a bit of a personal touch to this episode for sure. Can't wait for First Shift, man. Absolutely. And you said that's coming out this fall, correct?
Fall, winter. Yeah.
Fall, winter. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I won't hold you any longer. There we go. Now we can hear you, Alex. Welcome back.
You have the last words, Alex. You have the last words of this podcast. Say whatever you
want. Watch First Shift. You know, it's going to be great.
Yes,
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I feel like we can all say that with confidence.
Hell yeah, by all means. But Uwe, it's been great having you on for this episode. I couldn't thank you, enough for spending, some time with us on here. Where can our listeners find you and follow anything with First Shift going on?
Yeah, I will send you here a little clip we put on YouTube yesterday.
Okay.
And I will send it to you right now, so you can watch it after. I can put it in here. Wait 1 second. The fuck is this? No, I will email it to you. I don't know how I can copy and paste something in this chat.
I'm not even sure. I don't even use Zoom like that.
Are you on a Mac?
It doesn't matter. I will send you to your email the little clip in a few seconds, so it's all good.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. For our listeners out there, thank you so much for going ahead and sticking up with us for this episode. Stay tuned, because Alex and I are dropping our next film, Distinguished, next month. Cannot wait for this piece. Had a great time with our cast and crew, just like we did Like a Surgeon a few months ago. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be fucking great. But listeners, stay tuned. Be sure to follow us all on Galaxy of Film at Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whole 9 yards. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us a review and tweet us about the show much more than you can imagine. And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.